Hey everyone, my name is Ron McDaniel. I am founder of Outstanda. We are in the NFT and crypto space for education, which is very, very new. This technology really opens up some exciting things for us to incentivize students to do better learning. So here to talk about that with Phil today. The best advice I ever got was to really stick to something long term and master it, because if you keep flip flopping around with a lot of things, it just, you never get known for one thing. So that's the best advice I've ever gotten.
So stick to one thing, Ron. You moved. You're a marketing guy. That's how I know you.
Oh no,
You
I'm
moved.
not saying I followed the advice.
Oh, okay, but that's good advice. Who gave you
Great
that
advice.
advice?
Totally like went off the rails for many years, and then now I'm going back to where I originally started, which was education. So I wish I'd have stayed the whole time, but you get sidetracked, and I think both of us are entrepreneurs. We know what that's like, jumping around different things, right?
Yeah,
You,
abs.
however, have done a great job of sticking to your brand, your message, and your excitement level and everything. Like, I know exactly who Phil Gerber is.
Well, that makes one of us. So that'll be a conversation for another day. So no,
Well, we can
I
dive in deep. I
appreciate it.
don't mind giving up my time. Let's dive deep with you.
This is not a therapy session. Nobody wants to hear that. So you're funny, man. So Ron, in all seriousness, right? So go deep and get known for something. I think is good advice, right? For most of us, it's something that helps the marketplace understand who we are. It
Right.
helps ourselves, right? Understand how to market, how to have conversations. But you kind of pivoted here from buzz marketing to NFTs. But I see the connection. Do you see where this is connected, or is it totally accidental?
Well, it's technology. They're all based on technology and communications, right? So that's where there's a commonality, and that's why I was able to start out in education, and then move into more doing other kinds of tech and marketing for people, where we were still educating people, but it was a lot more sales driven. And now to swing back through and say, look at all this cool new stuff we can do with education. It's still technology, it's still communication. So there's a common thread there, but it can confuse your email list when suddenly you start talking about it from a different angle. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. And I do think that's interesting. Because I'm glad that you see the connection because I totally do. I mean, you've always been an educator to me. I say buzz marketing, but you educated us on marketing and you educated us before, right? You worked in education, you worked in higher ed, and now you're working in education in a different way. So I totally see that thread of teaching and learning and trying new things, new ways of doing it, maybe less traditional ways, if you will, of doing that. So how did you decide that NFTs were going to be your next foray in education?
Well, initially I thought the cryptocurrency side of it, being able to create your own tokens and reward people and create really an economy of learning, was my first thought. And I thought, wow, this is really fantastic. And of course, you can't get involved in the crypto side of it and then not see what's happening with NFTs. And then you start thinking, well, how do I apply that? And what I was able to do was see a world where we could fund the best courses ever created through NFTs. So it's basically, instead of going out and trying to get one company to give us a ton of money to do all this great curriculum development, we could just say, hey, buy an NFT. There's something in it for you, maybe. It's an NFT. It's highly speculative, but it's fun. And then we're taking all that money and then putting it towards development of courses that will help kids, well, not just kids, anybody, learn better and provide really an asset over a longer period of time that makes everyone better if they take the time to use it.
Yeah, I think that is the key, right? We have to take the time to use it and apply it and be there. And as a company, the ability to fund directly some education, I think, kind of cutting out the middle person, if you will, is a great idea. I think that's solid and really has some legs to that. So let's back up a little bit though, because
Sure.
for those listening, right, they might not know what an NFT is, and I'll tell you, like 3 years ago, 5 years ago, I thought NFT, like this near field technology, this was going to be really cool, and that's not what we're talking about, is it, Ron? Talk to me about what an NFT is.
NFT is basically just a digital contract that's in the blockchain. So it's not necessarily artwork and stuff like what people see. That's just its first use, first common use that people are seeing. But it's just a digital contract, and the contract is on the blockchain, so it's held in a way that's very public, although you don't need to disclose your identity, but people can see what wallet ID owns it, and you can see the history of it. So, and going back to art, think about like when they say, well, this painting was stolen during World War II from this family and then sold these 3 times and then disappeared for a while and then showed up in this museum and now we've got to return it. That can never happen with the blockchain because now ownership will stay consistent and public in like it's an online ledger. So you have that consistent ownership that you can trace back. You might not know the person's name because you can have a wallet and be anonymous. But there's no question of what's gone on with it. You know what I mean? So, it's interesting because if it was around for the last few hundred years, it would have solved a lot of problems because the ownership would have not been fuzzy.
Yeah, I was going to say, right, that does solve a lot of the ownership problems. We think about, a lot of that art from early 1900s, even back to Renaissance art. It's been questionable how it's been funded. It's been questionable how it's been owned. It's been questionable about that. And really education has been the same way, I think. Education, it's like, who's really funding education? Is it the public? Is it private? Is it donations? Is it a trust? And they still have some murkiness around that, much like an NFT does. But now it's going to be in a wallet. So is a wallet like really just an opportunity to hold it in something? I mean, give me an example of a wallet we might hold our NFTs in.
Well, the cool thing about this is people think of it as just ownership, but what it really is it's a user ID and a password that gives you whatever rights come with that particular asset. So if it's an image and whatever you bought and agreed to when you bought that image is what you have access to. However, it can also act like a key. So for example, with our NFTs, you're not only getting an image that we eventually print for you and things, but you're also getting access to things. So we can do special events for people who have funded our effort and get-togethers and give people special access. And I'm not the first one doing that. I think the whole Bored Apes thing is very much about you're in an exclusive club, and with your login proving you own it, you have access to things that no one else in the world can access. So.
Ooh, so it's almost the way you're doing Outstanda. Then it's almost like a country club for education, right? You get access to
down the road. We see it that way. I don't want to give somebody the misimpression that we're setting up something that is accessible this month. We're really focused on the funding, building out the courses, and serving our community in that sense. However, we also understand that people aren't going to fund it unless they're getting something back. Down the road and feel good about it. So the NFT, as far as what they can print and put on their wall, will look great and show their funding levels and things. But it will also give access to like-minded people in the future, definitely.
Yeah. So I like one of the things that I like about Outstanda is the fact you said, be able to print something. Because, as much as I love the idea of a non-fungible token, I like the idea of something I can hold in my hand, right? I can print it out. I can share it on my wall. So why did you decide that was going to be something that you're going to offer as a reward, if you will, for working with Outstanda, for funding an Outstanda NFT?
And the lower level ones are just digital. If you want to go print it, you can. And then the higher level ones, obviously, somebody's putting in a significant amount of money. It's nice to do something tangible that they can hang up or hold or put in their office or whatever. And it's I've seen it done other places. Like I have done nothing unique myself. I mean, I love something I see over here, and I'm like, I'm going to use that. So there was an Andy Murray release with some of his like greatest moments and stuff, and they actually sent like the video, but in a plastic frame that you could put on your desk or whatever that would loop and play, like when he won Wimbledon and things like that. And I was like, that's sure, technically you don't own that. It's more a representation of the digital piece you own, but it's just so nice. It's such a nice thing to do. So, I tried to think about different ways we could do that and really add value and say thank you and like have a reminder. For the higher level NFTs that are more expensive, I imagine companies will probably fund some of them, and being able to have, and each NFT funds only one course. So, and there's multiple for each course, but so you can actually fund like a whole chemistry group of courses, for example, if you wanted to, if you're a chemistry business, and have these NFTs hung up also in your lobby, showing your commitment to creating more chemists in the world, that kind of thing. So it's very kind of, people can pick what they're passionate about and really contribute in that area, and then show it off if they want to, or keep it privately if they want to.
Interesting. That's very interesting. I mean, the whole idea of funding a school or a university, right? That's not new at all, to your point. But it's new to sponsor a course or a field of study in this way, in this NFT way. So, you asked me to be part of the, part of the team and the outreach team, which I'm honored by. But so talk to me about, like, what's the ultimate big goal here? I mean, you have on there, right? Evolving work and education. What the heck does that mean, Ron?
Well, I realize I kind of left an important part out there too.
Oh,
we are building content that can be used by all those universities for absolutely free. In fact, we'll actually pay through the crypto tokens, schools for using it, teachers for teaching it, and students for using it. So the big idea is to create a central set of curriculum that everyone can build more off of that if they want, but really to create the core standards for everyone to use. And instead of trying to sell it to them, rewarding them for doing a good job and using this sort of mastery technique where students can learn at their own pace, and they can go back and rewatch a lecture 3 or 4 times if they need to. So nobody should flunk. People will just finish faster or slower. Instead of having a semester where, the kids that are fast are going to get A's because they pick it up faster, and the kids that could have gotten A's if they had an extra 4 weeks end up with a C. That doesn't make any sense. I mean, what's the long-term goal there, So really building a system where everyone can learn at their own pace, everyone can go to a school or not go to a school and learn the same stuff, and they actually get rewarded for it, and just create, improve the potential of every person through education. Nobody doesn't have access.
That's interesting. Democratizing, if you will, the education process here, giving everyone access, regardless.
Democratizing it, but also having very clear standards. Like, we don't want to just become a free-for-all and anyone can submit any type of content, because it'll become like the internet with so much fake information or skewed information. Really having high standards of factual-based stuff, not a lot of opinion, just the facts. You go to your teacher in your classroom and you can get all the opinion you want. That's fine. But we really focus on the core learning aspects that everyone needs to know.
So interesting. So what are those core learning standards, Ron? Let's talk a little bit about that, because I think that is, maybe that's not completely unique, but I think that is what makes Outstanda a little bit more interesting, that you've got some standards here that are important that we all kind of uphold.
Well, I think it's, every state has its own learning standards and things. So it's really hitting those standards and making sure everyone has the time and tools to achieve the core understanding of every topic they're required to understand. So, obviously, like kindergarten through 12th grade, you have stuff you want everyone to know. And then if you go to school, you're getting sort of the I don't want to say embellishment, but the apply it to life sort of aspect. But we would really focus on, these are the skills you need or the information you need. And it's pretty neutral. So it's not, yay, this country's better than that country. It's more like, hey, every country does good and bad things, right? So like, how do we present history or some of these topics in a way that's respectful of everyone, and say, hey, this was maybe a mistake and that kind of thing. So I don't want to there should be no politics in it, would be the best way to put it. I mean, it's really, that's for outside later on with your teacher, with wherever you're learning the other stuff. But this would be, free of that kind of stuff and really factual based.
So hopefully free of some bias, right? Free of some
way
cognitive or otherwise. So that's,
in fact, one of the things, I'm sorry, but one of the things when you say bias is every module will be done by a different teacher. So every day you might have a different teacher presenting the next step in that learning, and those teachers will look like the world. So you would have your kids learning from all different kinds of people. You wouldn't have just, one teacher for the whole year that presents one viewpoint and that kind of stuff. On the one hand, it's not going to be viewpoint based anyway, but at the same time, just being exposed to cultures and seeing different people teach, I think is very important for everyone to just feel included and to feel better connected to other people that aren't like them.
Wow, that's very very different than how a lot of education is, and I would say you're very different in your approach to education. Your daughter is homeschooled. Let's talk a little bit about that, because I do think that plays nicely with why you started Outstanda here. So talk to me about how you've incorporated homeschooling. Like, you got some tips, or why did you decide to homeschool?
So she's technically not homeschooled anymore because she's 16 and she's almost a senior in college. So she'll graduate next year with a bachelor's degree
Wow.
in uh, animation with a minor in computer science. So she's doing well. We homeschooled up until about 13, and then she got admitted to college. So I know what people's potential is. Everyone's like, oh, she's so gifted, she's a genius. She'll tell you I'm a hard worker. I went to school year round when I was younger. Although in the summers we did half days instead of full days, so we cut back, let her have more fun. And and we did this with both our kids. The older one eventually went to high school just to get away from us, because we weren't as lovely as we think we are. But she turned out great. She has a great job. Everything's going great. Graduated from Ohio State. And this one, I don't know what she'll do in a year. When she finishes up her bachelor's, probably go do a master's someplace. But my wife and I understand like how you can just be a little bit more regimented, waste a little bit less time, and create a culture of wanting to learn and actively learning and just do better, way better. It's I can take any average kid probably and get like exceptional outcomes. Personally, at this now, my system, I don't know. That's going to take many years to develop, obviously. But that's what I see in the future is people, whether it's they go to school so they can be around more kids and do more group projects and stuff, or whether they're homeschooled, or whether they're just learning on their own because maybe they're in a situation where they're in another part of the world where they have just no support, but they do have a phone. How do we bring the highest quality education to everybody and make people, achieve their full potential, whatever that potential is?
Wow, that's interesting. I've never asked you that before about why you decided to homeschool. So that's an interesting story for me to understand, the potential side. And I do think it's interesting too that you say that, it's about working hard and doing those things and wanting to learn instead of feeling like you have to learn. So how young, how young did that happen with the kids where they understood like, yay, this is fun, instead of, geez, man, this is more work?
Uh, Fun might not be the right word, but I think we always had an atmosphere of high expectations without being like, you must do this sort of thing. You know what I mean? So there was just an expectation of getting your stuff done every day before you had time off. So, and because we homeschooled when they were younger, they didn't realize that other kids were only maybe studying 2 or 3 hours a day. They just thought it was normal to study 6 hours a day, and they were fine with it. I mean, we do an hour or two of tennis every day. We do an hour of piano every day. We do all these other things. So it's not like all math and reading and writing and stuff. It's a lot of fun stuff, a lot of integrated stuff. Um, but there was constant work on being a better person, partially through the traditional academic stuff and partially through the extracurriculars, but just a high focus on achievement. And then people will come to me and be like, well, I've got a 17-year-old. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. Don't get me wrong. I can't help you. That ship sailed. Like, push them and hope for the best now, right? So it's tough if you've got an older kid to start this out. But if you if you have young kids, there's a great opportunity there that that people don't realize they have to kind of start early, building that sort of group of patterns where it's just expected and not questioned. And we always bought into the whole positive reinforcement versus negative reinforcement. So talking about what a great worker she was and blah, blah, blah. And like, she's never thought she was a genius, even though other people tell her that all the time. And she's always tells them, no, I'm just a really hard worker. I care and I focus and we built that intentionally.
Yeah.
Um,
Wow.
it's fun. And then she went to second grade, by the way, because my older daughter said, well, you should let her go experience school and then make her own decision. So she went all of second grade to school. and she was like the top student, even that young. So she was what, 6 or 7, right? And she one of I think the top students. I mean, they don't really like make you valedictorian of second grade or anything, but she went in straight A's, and they gave her the Lions Award for leadership. And I mean, and she had a great time, but she chose then to be homeschooled after that because it was too easy, even at second grade. So I mean, and she wanted to focus on tennis, so she wanted that freedom to like really go hardcore in tennis, and work a lot harder. So it can be done at a pretty young age, and it was totally her decision at that point. If you asked her today, though, she'll tell you, "What was I thinking when I was that little? I could have had so much fun just sitting in school. Everything would have been easy. I could have just like taken life off, basically." I'm like, "Yeah, too bad you made that decision." So.
That's funny. Well, now without the Outstanda NFTs, now every kid has that opportunity to take that. Their parents enroll them. So how does this work, Ron? If I want to get involved in Outstanda, I mean, I know we have the opportunity for funding first. You have to fund it, otherwise there's no courses. So take us through, kind of some next steps here. If folks are like, "Ooh, I want to get to know more about Outstanda," or "I want to get involved."
Well, we're definitely looking to build out the team. This is not a small project. I can regularly tell people I am not going to live to see this thing to completion. I expect it to be an ongoing project forever. I'm trying to get it started. I'm looking for people who kind of share the passion and interest, whether it's on the sort of crypto side or education side. We're looking for people who care about this and would like to participate as well. Funding is obviously huge because we're never going to get anywhere if we can't hire the teams to put each course together. Once the courses are out there, hopefully the middle of next year, we'll be able to launch a couple courses. It's not like enrollment. You just sign up and then take whatever courses you want at whatever pace you want. And over time, we'll add more and more tools for teachers, universities, everybody to use it. It will be not just through 12th grade. It'll be college as well. So we're looking at how to really give people a cradle to grave learning experience that's very high quality and rewards them, actually pays them for going versus expecting them to pay us.
Interesting. Definitely turns it on its ear, man.
Outstanda.com is the website in case people are like, "When's he going to tell us how to get there?" It's just like it sounds. And just contact me, Ron at Outstanda.com. You can email me if you have questions and stuff. Very approachable. And just we want to see this happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
And I appreciate so much that you're on, because I mean, you're my only guy right now for like, okay, how do we apply this to corporate training as well? Like, what are going to be our first courses? What would have widespread value to employees for what they take and stuff? And I'm really looking for you for guidance on that kind of area because that's your expertise.
Yeah, for sure. I'm excited too. I mean, you're doing some cool stuff at Outstanda.com. The NFT side is super interesting. The way that you're, kind of openly distributing education is really, really fascinating to me. I'm really curious to see how you twist and turn and how this grows in the next few years. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see what happens with these NFTs, how this happens. I like that you've got physical stuff, and I like the fact that folks can get involved at whatever level they're comfortable, right? There's a funding model pretty much for everybody if they're interested in getting involved, and soon be able to take courses and get paid to take some courses and be part of the community so you can learn even more from each other. Any last words, Ron, that you want to leave people with about education?
No, I think that sums it up great. I mean, the lowest NFT is $50 just so that, and that's a one-time thing. And, and it goes up to $50,000 for a unique one that has the most benefits and things. So it's meant to be like for somebody that casually wants to buy one, up to, corporations maybe getting involved in helping us fund things. So I appreciate it.
Absolutely. So get involved, folks. If you're interested in learning more about educational NFTs and Ron McDaniel, go to Outstanda.com. That's Outstanda.com. Again, that's all about educational NFTs, how we decentralize education and reward people for learning at their own pace. Thanks so much, Ron, for spending some time with us today, man. Really good stuff.
Thank you. You have a great day.
You too.